Eric Pickles, the former Conservative Party politician, was a man of simple tastes. He liked a good cuppa, a hearty meal, and a good old-fashioned political coup. Lately, the state of British politics had left a sour taste in his mouth. "It's all gone to pot," he'd often grumble, shaking his fist at the telly. "Too much talk, not enough action." Pickles yearned for the good old days when politicians were made of sterner stuff. One particularly dreary afternoon, while munching on a plate of biscuits, inspiration struck. Not from the biscuits themselves, mind you, but from the furry little creatures that often shared his garden picnics. Rats, thousands of them, an army of loyal, disciplined rodents ready to follow his every command. "That's it!" Pickles roared, crumbs flying from his mouth. "It's time for a change, and I'm just the man to lead it." Pickles' plan was as audacious as it was absurd. He envisioned a legion of rats swarming the Houses of Parliament, disrupting debates, chewing through wires, and generally causing mayhem. The government would be brought to its knees, paving the way for Pickles to seize control and establish a new world order. An order with more biscuits, fewer arguments, and perhaps a designated minister for tea. Pickles, a man of action, wasted no time. He knew just the place to recruit his furry army, the London sewers. Donning his wellies and armed with a sack of stale bread, he disappeared into the bowels of the city. The sewers, he discovered, were a thriving metropolis of rat life. There were families, gangs, and even a rat opera house, though the less said about their rendition of the magic flute, the better. Pickles, a natural leader, quickly won over the rodent masses with promises of unlimited cheese, comfortable nesting material, shredded copies of the House of Commons rulebook, and a chance to wreak havoc upon the surface world. The rats, sensing an opportunity for both culinary and social advancement, flocked to his banner. Soon, Pickles found himself at the head of a vast squeaking horde, ready to do his bidding. Word of Pickles' rodent army reached the ears of the current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. A practical man, Starmer was initially more concerned with the potential damage to the Houses of Parliament's plumbing than any real threat to national security. However, when reports came flooding in of rats forming ranks, marching in formation, and even saluting passing pigeons, he knew he had to act. Starmer, out of his depth, called upon the only man he knew who had faced down greater threats than a horde of politically motivated rodents, Tony Blair. Blair, now retired from public life and sporting a rather impressive collection of colourful scarves, was initially reluctant to get involved. "Look, Keir," he said, sipping his chamomile tea. "I've had my time in the political arena. Let the younger generation handle it." But when he heard the name Pickles and the phrase "army of rats," even Blair couldn't resist the call to action. "Right, here's what we're going to do," Blair declared, grabbing a pen and a napkin. "We lure Pickles and his furry fiends into a trap using his one weakness, biscuits." Blair, you see, had done his research. He knew of Pickles' fondness for the sweet treats, and he planned to use it against him. The plan was simple yet ingenious. They would create a trail of biscuits, leading from the Houses of Parliament to a secure location. A giant cage, perhaps, or a very large biscuit tin. Once Pickles and his army were safely inside, they would spring the trap. "It's foolproof," Blair said with a wink. "Unless, of course, Pickles has developed a taste for something stronger, like, say, Vindaloo." The day of the great biscuit operation arrived. A trail of hobnobs, custard creams and jammy dodgers snaked its way from the Houses of Parliament, across Parliament Square and into St James's Park. Anticipation hung heavy in the air, along with the scent of freshly baked bait. Pickles, his nose twitching, led his rodent army out of the sewers and into the open. "Onwards, my loyal subjects," he squeaked, his voice amplified by a tiny megaphone fashioned from a thimble. "To glory, to power, to biscuits." The plan was working perfectly, at first. The rats, their tiny hearts filled with sugary desire, followed the biscuit trail with unwavering dedication. Pickles, however, stopped at the edge of Parliament Square, his beady eyes narrowed. Something wasn't right. He could sense a trap. And indeed there was. Unfortunately for Blair and Starmer, they hadn't anticipated the unpredictable variable that was Nigel Farage. The former UKIP leader, spotting a photo opportunity amidst the chaos, had decided to insert himself into the situation. Wearing a Union Jack waistcoat and brandishing a megaphone of his own, he began shouting about unelected bureaucrats and taking back control of the biscuit supply. The rats, confused and agitated, abandoned their disciplined ranks and descended into a frenzy of squeaking and biscuit gobbling. In the ensuing melee, Farage was trampled by a rogue wave of rodents, his most prominent feature, his nose bitten clean off.